Story 1. They freely admit to getting ideas from others and attribute and reference the people they got ideas from. They see knowledge and ideas not as a limited finite resource. Story 2. Saying that they do not actually know something without excuses or circumlocution. A pure and sincere, "I do not know that." Story 3. They are willing to entertain new ideas and change their opinions when presented with new compelling evidence. They can discuss and debate without arguing. They are quick to acknowledge when they do not know things. They are excited about learning new things. They have self-awareness, sometimes too much. They do not get frustrated with ambiguity and enjoy things that involve problem solving. They have a high capacity for nuance and do not see the world in black and white. They can tell when someone else is trying to appear smart and is not. They are less prone to major expressions of impulsivity and risk-taking. They are generally not in the happiest 25% of people you know. There is, however, a correlation between intelligence and rates of depression, and there is substance to that. The things required to be happy, however, have nothing to do with intelligence. Community, relationships, self-esteem, sense of purpose, and time spent doing enjoyable things are not dependent on being smart. There is no such thing as being too smart to be happy. Story 4. They notice connections between things you have not thought about. Minor threads that are easy to miss are all lined up perfectly in that person's mind. They do not have to be well educated to see those patterns. For instance, I work in private security, and my job is all about recognizing things that are out of pattern. Some people pick up on small details, like someone looking around too much or a door that is barely ajar. Others seem oblivious to the world during training and have to work at seeing the details around them. Story 5. They have a large swollen head to hold their giant mutant brain. Story 6. They ask many questions and tend to see the world in less black and white. Story 7. Most people who are highly intelligent speak in simple terms. I have noticed it is those who try to artificially fill the word count of a college term paper who pretend to be smarter than they actually are. They can express things in a way anyone can understand and simplify complicated topics. As someone else said, overanalyze everything. Does this pixel of the bike in a different square count as part of the CAPTCHA? It is technically the bike. The world may never know. Story 8. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. F. Scott Fitzgerald. Story 9. They analyze everything and are prone to overthinking. I know this can sometimes be a sign of anxiety, but it is also a habit I have noticed in many highly intelligent people. Story 10. They scroll through Reddit responses to see if they may be smart. Story 11. In this thread, many people are mistaking likability for intelligence. Story 12. They seem to have a lot of good luck, but the good luck was the result of carefully planned good decisions. Story 13. They present themselves at face value, not trying to impress you, enhance their own image, or belittle you. Story 14. They do a search before posting an AskReddit question that has been asked many times. Story 15. They think they are unintelligent because they know there is much more they do not know. They have difficulty forming connections with others due to challenges in understanding and being understood. They have too many interests but lose interest quickly once the challenge is gone. They overthink every small detail, sometimes staring into space and daydreaming. They easily spot patterns. Story 16. You can see a change in their opinion physically as well as verbally when they are presented with new critical information on a topic. Story 17. The really smart people I have known always have obsessions with certain things and can become hyper-focused on them. Story 18. What do you think? I am not sure. I do not think I am sufficiently knowledgeable on this topic to give an informed opinion. Story 19. They do their research and you can see them researching. Instead of scrolling, they are using a search engine, looking up information and fact-checking. This can be done subtly. Story 20. They have no desire to prove it. That applies to many things in life. Billionaires do not brag about wealth. Supermodels do not brag about their looks. Olympic athletes do not brag about their fitness routines. Similarly, the most intelligent people in the world do not brag about their intelligence. They are comfortably secure in it, and it is self-evident. Story 21. I am surprised that this was not in the top 5 responses at my time of posting. Empathy. Intelligent people tend to be empathetic because they are willing to accept that they do not understand another person's circumstances, and they seek understanding by trying to get into that person's mindset. Story 22. Great curiosity, analyze everything, and overthink whatever they can possibly find. Story 23. I do not know. You will never hear a foolish person admit they do not know something. Story 24. Actually, I have observed a common theme with intelligent people and board games. You start playing some random game that nobody knows, and someone is being a bit of a goofball, lighthearted, and losing the early rounds. Then it is like a switch flips, and they seamlessly dominate each game after a certain point without trying. There is no emotion either and a humility that they have cracked it. Also, no regrets or dwelling early on. The fun is in learning the strategy. Story 25. When they make everyone in the room feel intelligent. Story 26. Strong sense of humor. Not clumsy or insensitive laughter at others' misfortunes, but quick, clever wit. Story 27. Don't waste time trying to convince others they are wrong. Story 28. When people are able to tell jokes very fast, it shows that it takes a lot of intellect to tell genuinely funny jokes immediately. Some believe we are attracted to funny people because it is a sign of an intelligent mate or partner. Story 29. They are good listeners and tend to ask many questions. Story 30. They can have mature conversations and debates without feeling personally attacked. Story 31. Humor. People who are consistently witty and quick with their comebacks always strike me as highly intelligent. Story 32. Empathy. It takes a considerable amount of intelligence to understand another person on an emotional level. Story 33. A subtle sign of intelligence is the ability to ask thoughtful questions. Intelligent people often focus on understanding the deeper context rather than showcasing what they already know. They are curious, reflective, and able to connect seemingly unrelated ideas, demonstrating a genuine interest in learning rather than impressing others. Story 34. Average people think they are intelligent. Intelligent people think they are average. Story 35. They are open to having their mind changed about a subject. Story 36. Asking really good follow-up questions when you are explaining or talking about something they may be unfamiliar with. Story 37. Intelligence is quite rare today. Most people think they are intelligent, but they are just average or slightly above average. The easiest way to tell is their ability to recognize patterns and understand second and third-order consequences. Story 38. They show interest in things beyond their special areas of interest. They are excited to learn new things and are not threatened by knowledge they do not have. Story 39. Tends to zone out frequently, always deep in thought about everything. Story 40. Ability to entertain a hypothetical idea that they do not believe in for the sake of discussion. Story 41. People who audibly say, let me reflect on what you just said for a moment, before answering your questions or commenting on what you have said. Very few unintelligent people do this. Story 42. Intelligent people keep their mouths shut until there is something useful to say. I am not saying they cannot do small talk. That is different. Small talk requires neither intelligence nor effort. I am referring to situations where substantial issues are brought into play. You will know the intelligent ones by how long it takes them to comment and how effectively they state their positions. Story 43. I know I am paraphrasing, but it is the sign of an intelligent person who can entertain an idea without accepting it. I think about that when I talk to people who will never open their minds or listen to the other side. You can listen to the other side of the argument, even the side you disagree with, and not accept their argument but understand it. This is worsened when a person exists in an echo chamber of thought and firmly believes that any opinion outside of their echo chamber is not just morally wrong, but popularly wrong and a belief held by the minority. Story 44. They know not to argue with or try to convince unintelligent people of anything. Story 45. When explaining something large and complex, they will use simple words naturally and avoid complex words. Story 46. Having a sense of humor means not just being able to make jokes, although that is part of it. It also involves seeing humor from multiple angles and in different scenarios. Being able to be funny in various ways, witty, dry, droll, crass, incisive, and so on. Story 47. Depression masked as laughter. High intelligence can be accompanied by depression due to recognizing the limitations of those around you and feeling unable to help them. Story 48. They make smart guesses on the most difficult questions in a test to save time and achieve the highest score in the shortest amount of time. Story 49. They are capable of following and building on other people's higher-level reasoning. Story 50. They can simplify complex information into easy-to-understand pieces. They also have clear attention to detail. Story 51. This comment is for all the people who overthought this question and did not comment because they did not want to feed their own ego when they realized the things they were saying described themselves. Because a smart person would never acknowledge their intelligence. Story 52. They admit when they do not know something. Intelligent people are unafraid to say, "I do not know," because they value learning over pretending to have all the answers. They see gaps in their knowledge as opportunities to grow, not as weaknesses. They can simplify complexity. A hallmark of intelligence is the ability to take complex ideas and explain them in simple, relatable terms. If someone can break down a difficult topic into something even a child could understand, that is a good sign of deep understanding. They are highly observant. Intelligent people often pick up on details that others might overlook, whether it is nuances in a conversation or patterns in the world around them. They notice connections and inconsistencies that others miss. Story 53. There are many great behaviors listed about how intelligent people behave, but I focused on how to discern if a person is smarter than they appear, rather than distinguishing those who act smart from those who are trying to seem that way. What indicates that someone is playing dumb but is not, or is much smarter than they believe themselves to be. They remember things accurately and with detail. You can be smart without a good memory sometimes, but people with super accurate memories are rarely unintelligent. Story 54. They are willing to change their worldview based on research that is backed by actual evidence and not politicized nonsense. Story 55. Always questioning everything and listening to what anyone thinks or observes. Story 56. Some subtle signs that someone is intelligent include being naturally curious and asking thoughtful questions. Story 57. Their lives are in shambles. Our society is very much modeled on people being either normal or driven. I think I read somewhere that intelligence and depression are linked. Many highly intelligent people have trouble fitting in, at least. Often the life of an intelligent person is like a great thumping motor on a boat, but the start button is broken and there is no rudder. Story 58. They are quiet and choose their contributions and words carefully. They admit when they are wrong. They can explain complex topics using simple language. Story 59. Spatial awareness involves moving out of the way of foot traffic and avoiding stopping in bottleneck areas in public. These actions help maintain the flow of traffic smoothly. Story 60. People are mixing intelligence with humility and more. One can be arrogant and intelligent, one can be intelligent and unwilling to learn, remaining stuck in their ways, and so on. Intelligence is a broad concept to measure, and its signs vary from person to person. Story 61. Actually, it has been stated that humor, a quick wit, is one sign of intelligence. The problem is everyone thinks they are funny. I promise you this is not true. You can be lighthearted and make jokes and laugh, all really good things. But think about that one person you have worked with or went to school with who was able to use humor in such a unique, appropriate way at any given moment. This is what science calls an indicator of intelligence. My brother had it. He was a member of Mensa and a joy to banter with and joke around. He understood things lightning fast, whereas others took too long to get it. Rest in peace, my sweet brother. Story 62. They get both sides of a story before coming to a conclusion. Seriously, there was a guy I knew who honestly just went against me in some boring friend drama. I asked him, "Why didn't you ask for my side of the story?" He looked at me with a sincerely confused expression and said, "Why would I do that?" Story 63. When you talk to them, You can tell they are paying attention to what you are saying because they ask insightful questions that others do not. Less knowledgeable people get lucky occasionally, but intelligent people do this consistently. This is one of the best features of intelligence. The ability to see connections quickly that others miss. It makes for a truly engaging conversation. Story 64. I think interest goes a long way for me. Obviously, not everybody has the same skill sets, but I love when people are passionate about something or eager. I think it shows a level of intelligence. Curiosity is a big motivator for learning things. Story 65. Forethought, multiple perspectives, curiosity, and being on the spectrum. Story 66. Being able to have a discussion about different opinions without taking it personally or getting offended is important. From politics to simply not liking the same clothing brand, I cannot say something like, "I am not a fan of your favorite restaurant. I do not want to go there on my birthday," to my sister-in-law or mother-in-law without starting a fight. They wonder why I prefer to keep my distance. Story 67. I love how almost all these answers refer to interpersonal skills. It makes you wonder why. Story 68. People who are able to apply critical thinking to their words and actions are intelligent. People who ask questions instead of making statements are intelligent. People who embrace not knowing something and see it as an opportunity to learn are intelligent. Curious people are intelligent people. Story 69. They listen to people and ask questions instead of debating them openly. They ask questions to understand the person's position and to determine if the person knows what they are talking about, rather than confronting them directly. Story 70. Do not have a problem being wrong about things while knowing that the more you know, the more you do not know. Story 71. People who are great conversationalists. It is often understated how valuable it is when people can hold conversations on a range of topics, not just one or two. Story 72. Quick wit. The person with clever asides and quippy retorts who makes everyone else laugh. Story 73. Nuance and the ability to admit when you are wrong or do not know something. Story 74. They can laugh at and even make a mockery of their own mistakes. Story 75. They answer this Reddit question by secretly describing themselves. Story 76. Listening. Not bragging about how intelligent they are. Reading. Story 77. Bertrand Russell said, "The problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves, and wiser people are full of doubts." Story 78. Not having a strong opinion on every issue is a good first step. Story 79. An intelligent person has critical thinking skills. They can solve complex problems. They have vision. Too many people think intelligence is reading a book, memorizing it, and regurgitating it. They could not be more wrong. Story 80. They are usually quite comfortable in themselves, not needing to ask for a lot of help from others, but are humble enough to do so if they really need it. Otherwise, they are quite resourceful and economical in their thinking and actions. Often, very well-read people are some of the quietest or more introverted, preferring their own company or solitude. Story 81. They do not call themselves a stable genius or talk about their uncle who went to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Story 82. The nuance here is very real. There are too many facets for a Reddit response, but these would be my main markers. Courageous self-education and meaningful spreading of information where one can see the value in the information being shared. Sense of self-worth. Knowing when to cut losses and bail, and knowing when to dig in and invest. Awareness. Being able to both read between the lines of less able communicators and find middle ground over which to engage despite a difference in belief. Compassion, both for allies and rivals, which is easier said than done but true nonetheless. Humility. Taking all these points together and not being a holier-than-thou person. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.